Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colleen Lockoff.
And I'm Meredy Lockoff.
And welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colleen. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meredy?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colleen here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Today we are looking at a lesson of the conscious and the subconscious mind. I mean, I created this around what is getting in the way of your business, but really like how we do anything is how we do everything. So it's a really foundational piece to looking at like why we attract in what we attract in, why we act the way we act, why we don't take compliments, like really diving in. So for anyone that's catching this podcast by listening, well, I'll explain the best that I can the presentation. Also, please check out our YouTube or Spotify podcast. It shows you like the video aspect of things. And we'll put a link to this lesson as well if you want to open it and check it. But really, this is us. So what we're going to do is actually coach Meredy through this practice of recognizing self and all the parts of self, because the transformation really happens in sharing, right? Whatever goes on with Meredy goes on with all of us. Literally same story, different narration. So by her really diving deep into what her stories are, it's going to support you in recognizing what your stories are. And you can always write things in comments below the podcast, and we can look at them and get back to you if that's what you're looking for in support.
Absolutely.
So really where we start is like looking at us now. Like this is a picture of us, and it's a big head with a little body, right? And the big head is broken up into like the upper part being the conscious mind, the lower part being the subconscious mind, and then the body. Because we're living in a world where it's not bullshit. We are energy. Like everything about us is energy. If I take a piece of my desk and put it under an electron microscope, because that's the smallest we can see is electrons, right? What I'll see is vibrating atoms. And because we've agreed, remember physics, we've agreed that like, you know, atoms packed this way equals solids, atoms packed this way equals liquids, and, you know, them a couple just dance around as gas. Then if I take a piece of my skin and put that under a microscope as well, it's going to look the same as what's under the like the desk, what's under the microscope, because we're both solids. So it's quite interesting that we then involve a nervous system to kind of like change things. So if my thoughts are energy, because they are, because I need to use energy to create them, have them, make them, implant them, whatever they are, then that means that that energy then just changed everything, right? And we'll look at how the thought comes into the conscious mind. If we're emotionally attached, it makes its way into the subconscious mind, and there's nowhere else for it to go except to be expressed physically from the body, because energy is always in motion, right? When I come down to the base of everything, remember physics, the only laws in the world that haven't been proven wrong are the laws of physics. And I will constantly go back to them to really, like, this isn't just a bunch of made up bullshit. So if we break it down to, like, what are the minds, you know, when I ask, where do you think your mind is, like, Merity, where do you think your mind is?
In my head.
Right? People point to their head. So if we look at your mind, we have two parts to the mind. We have the thinking mind, the educated mind, like the intellect. That's our conscious mind. It cannot, or it chooses whether it accepts or rejects a thought. Okay. Then we have the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is your emotional mind, and it cannot reject, it can only accept. It cannot determine the difference between what is real or what is imagined. So if we start with you being a baby, did you ever, like, take time to think, like, oh, I wonder how this other person will feel if I do this?
No.
Right? Because up until about the age between 9 and 12, we don't have a conscious mind. We don't have a thinking mind. We don't think for ourselves. So imagine the baby mind is the subconscious mind, and it's just an empty vessel. It's empty and it's ready to be filled with all the bullshit that your parents have to pass on to you. Right? Like, think about this for a minute. Like, everything that you believe, everything that is of value is like a mission statement, your, like, ideas. Vishen Lakiani calls it the rules, the bullshit rules, right? We have them around our genders, we have them around societal rules, our cultures, like anything. We have rules, and those rules were all shared to us by our parents. Every single thing you believe, you were taught. There's, like, not one thing that you really came up with on your own. And that's a little bit, like, terrifying, really, because if you think about your parents. And your parents, I mean, the thing is that you can, like, then dislike them or just recognize, like, they were also taught. Right? As adults, we do get to choose. That's why we add the conscious mind. But as children, we don't know. So our parents, probably unconscious, because a lot of the baby boomers are, and I hope nobody gets mad at me about this, but it is what it is. Like, there's a lot of unconsciousness in the baby boomer world. And our world or generation is waking up, yet our children have woken up even more, even though we can be super judgy about how lazy they are or whatever the story is around that. So the baby, and then we taught our kids everything that we believe. Like, we didn't even know that we believe what we believe and that it was taught to us, right? It's like, I always say, imagine remember the day that you were taught to put on your pants, right? Do you remember the day? No, because there wasn't a day. Like, you were born and then people started putting pants on you. Like, and they put them on the way they put them on. Grabbed your little foot, put it in the sleeper, grab the other foot, put it in the sleeper, like, or just didn't, whatever. You wore dresses always. Like, chances are you were put in pants regularly. At some point, you were aware of more than just yourself. And so you watched your parents put on their pants, right? They also put your pants on, and you became more and more independent. So then it was like, lift your leg, put it in here, right? And then at some point, you wanted to put on your own pants. There wasn't just one day that your parents were like, this is how you do it. No, it was watching, interacting, and this is what's filling the baby mind. It's not just your parent coming and being like, money doesn't grow on trees, even though that's part of it. Your mind can't accept or reject. It doesn't know anything else except what it's being told. So we have not only parents, but, you know, we have grandparents, we have police, government, society, we have school. There's a lot kind of like filling our mind with different opinions. And these become our values, our beliefs, our morals, and our self-image. I have coached a lot with Bob Proctor. He calls it your paradigm. In yoga, it's called your ego. This idea formed of who you are is created by the people that raised you. So whatever it is that your parents thought about money is implanted in your subconscious mind. So let's just talk about our parents as a general whole. From what you remember, what was it like growing up when we were young?
It was money doesn't grow on trees, you have to work hard. People are thieves. Like money was hard to get, money was hard to hold on to, money was hard to make, all of the things. Money was hard. Overall, money was hard.
I remember being on welfare. I remember not being able, I was called welfare ass in school because we wore like Lee jeans instead of Levi's. I remember that when we were young, like we couldn't eat sometimes, like we would have to eat macaroni and cheese because
that was expensive. It was pancakes usually because that was the cheaper one, but yes.
And because our parents needed to get a new part for the car so it could make a car show or they could race.
Or a race, because that's where they would also make bets to get money.
So then your self-image, right? Which we spent a little bit of time talking about the other day, or pretty much in every single podcast, I would say. So what do you think that you got based on, think about this, up to about 9 to 12? We've already talked about this. What do you think the input for you was around your self-image?
I'm going to say it was mostly around the way I looked. And it was, oh, Meredy was so pretty and Meredy should be a model.
Right? And then also let's just talk about mom saying things about like you being conceited as well, because that counts too. To like a child hears that and then they make that like also everybody
a liar as well.
How beautiful I am, but also it's bad for me to love myself.
Yes.
So 9 to 12, boom. Okay, cool. We now have like your self-image, your beliefs, your morals, everything, your core values, they're all cemented in there and you have no fucking clue. So let's move into the world now, right? So now here we are again with the conscious, the subconscious mind, and the body. So as I mentioned, right, it comes in the conscious mind is the thinking mind. I could say to you, Meredy, you are the most beautiful person in the world. Meredy, you are the most terrible person in the world. And your conscious mind is going to either take both comments, reject both comments, like whatever it is. So tell me, how does it feel when I say, Meredy, you are the most beautiful woman in the world?
I feel like it's bullshit.
Okay. And if I say you're the most terrible person in the world, where does that go?
I also feel like that's bullshit.
Okay, great. So when we either accept or reject, when we are emotionally connected, we will accept the conscious thought. And then what happens is that will move through the subconscious and into the body, and you will radiate that physically. So, I just think about times when I've been like single and I'm working out and I'm taking care of myself and I get into routine and I feel good. It's like, I can't even walk down the street without people being like, whoa, or like people commenting, you look so good, or like whatever. Other times when I feel like shit, people are like, are you okay?
100%. And I just went through this. So yeah, 100%.
It's a perfect
feeling
example.
Sick and being ill, I look at the same person in the mirror, and even though I don't necessarily look super ill, I feel like I look like shit.
So we have thoughts coming to us all the time. They're external, right? They're usually from other sources. In fact, it's said, and I don't know the legitimacy of how many thoughts we have per day, but I've heard like upwards of 60,000. And then what I've heard is like also about 55,000 of those you had yesterday and the day before, and even when you were 6 years old. So you're not even thinking, you're actually just like processing mentally the same thing over and over again, which was very like, whoa. No wonder I shit talk myself when I'm quiet. This is why meditation is helpful. It's not to get rid of the thoughts, it's to become aware of what the fuck the thoughts are in your head.
Yes.
So based on your subconscious beliefs, this is what you accept or reject. So if somebody says to you, like, you're a welfare ass, I mean, to me, that would work. But you had the same childhood and express somewhat similar, like you have bougie tastes, or like you can't get that, we can't afford that, you're not worth eating well because the car's more important, or whatever that story is. Not saying that our parents ever said that to us. It's not what is said, it's what's demonstrated. And then what a child then sees based on what's demonstrated. So we make up our own stories here based on what we've been taught. So yeah, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. Oh, Merity's so beautiful. Oh, Merity's so beautiful. Oh, Merity's so conceited. Those you'll let in, right? But if someone says something else that you don't believe, like, oh, you can do anything, and you're 12 years old, and we've just been told, like, you can't afford that, that's a waste of money. Are you going to accept that thought? Absolutely not. No, we can't do whatever we want. I have to fucking eat pancakes because my parents need a part for their car. I'm not important. So if we look at just in general, let's just like zoom back out and look at the population of the world. 99% of the population of the world that has ever existed is ignorant. And this fits in yoga with like the kleshas. The kleshas are like the obstacles to happiness, or the reasons that we're suffering. And the very first one is that we're ignorant. We're ignorant to who we truly are. So 99% of the world, of the population of the world that's ever existed, is completely ignorant to who they are. If I say you are God, right? Do you think you're going to accept or reject that?
Like, reject.
Yeah, that fucking triggers so many people, me even just saying that word. Now, that being said, like that universe, God, energy, just being whatever it is that you think it is, because I'm just bringing up like, be immediate, like, fuck you. Well, guess what? In yoga, they say, if you don't think you're God, you've forgotten who you are. Now you're attached to your ego. You think you're your ego. When you're in your ego, you're attached, you are averse, and you fucking have fear. And so you're going to suffer. So in order to stop doing all that, you have to remember that you're God. So 99% of the population of the world, even when they're presented with these facts, are like, fuck you, you're full of shit. You said God, I'm out.
Yeah.
That's a negative mindset. This wording was prior to like toxic positivity. This was prior to high vibe and low vibe. This is like for real a negative mindset. And what you're going to let in a negative mindset is worry, shame, and doubt. Fuck. When I was back in Canada, not this time, but the last time, I was watching the news. I was with you. We were watching the news. We were having breakfast in a fucking Holiday Inn or whatever. And it was like, this afternoon, we're being invaded by an atmospheric river. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? We're being invaded? And there's an atmospheric river? And then I like asked somebody later, and they're like, it's gonna rain. Are you kidding me? So I remember in that moment, I was like, oh my God. So the fear has made it to the weather. Because you know what? That's what feeds us. We're like, oh my God, this afternoon invaded. Remember, Living Untethered, it talks about like, if it rains, let it rain.
Yep.
So why do we let in worry, shame, and doubt? Because we have a mindset of fear. Like emotionally, we're attached to being fearful. That's what we believe. You have to be. We've already been taught this. We are, like you and I specifically, in our 40s, are children of the Depression. Like our grandmother was 4 in World War II, right?
Yeah.
So she's even a child of the Depression, and the child of people who were like trying to support their families in the Depression. So yeah, you can see how that fear, and let's just talk about Catholicism. Like that was very fear-based way to like control people or whatever. So that's why we'll just automatically, without even being aware or present, conscious to the conscious thoughts, will let in fear, worry, shame, and doubt. So as I mentioned, it's going to express its way in through the body. So how are we going to express that out physically? It's with anxiety. And if you're anxious, are you like, okay, I'm going to fully embrace this?
Not even a little.
Right? You're going to suppress it. You're going to go see your doctor and get some medication or medicate yourself with whatever that looks like, drugs, alcohol. And when we suppress, we depress. So we depress our entire nervous system, which is a huge part of our physical body. And that means in depression, because the body isn't supposed to be depressed, we will be in dis-ease. We will not be at ease. And when we're in dis-ease, the body disintegrates. So, actually, like biblic times talk about people being the age of 900 years of age.
Wow.
Yeah. Why did we even at some point 40 was old? Like we are old timers in like the Depression.
We're past
era.
our halfway, essentially.
So we physically disintegrate, and part of some of the conversations around anatomy and physiology is like the body's actually not meant to age the way that it does. So why does it? And the idea is that because we're here, right? And in biblical times, it was a way more enlightening time. I don't think the Bible's bullshit as we're going to move over into this. It's just like, who translates it for you? Just like I'm translating right now, right? How do you know what to believe? So we've got the 1%. And I mean, the 1%, why I said biblical times is like Jesus Christ was the 1%. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I've spent years as a theology student in university studying religion. But what I do know is like Jesus isn't God. Yeah, I know that he's taken as God and is some people, and that's up to you, like whatever it is that you want to believe in that. But like what I know is Jesus was a man and he wasn't a God. And this is like pre-science time of like knowing if somebody's really dead or not, and like different things. And what we do know quantum physics wise is what you believe is true for you. So yeah, you could walk on water. And I know that there's other like breakdowns of what was really going on there that are very interesting to hear as well. But like really, if I believe I can walk on water, I could probably walk on water.
Yep.
Right?
Let's talk about that Chris guy.
What Chris guy?
He levitates. The magician guy who levitates and does all sorts of things. I can't remember his last name at the moment.
Oh, Chris
He believes he can and he does. That's it. He believes he can and he does.
I don't know about him specifically, but there are yogis out there in this modern time that do that kind of shit, that actually like levitate. So if he's one of them, I mean, that's great. Buddha is a 1% knowledge, and that's knowledge is knowing, not he has a fucking university degree. It's like the knowing that he is God. So there you go. Like in me saying Jesus Christ isn't God, it's like I'm also completely contradicting myself, because in the non-dualistic perspective, there is no difference between myself and God. There's no difference between myself and you. There's no difference between myself and anybody else or the earth. We are all one. And there's the 1% that know this. at their core. And what do I mean by core? Subconscious mind. So when they allow thoughts in, those are thoughts of understanding. Right? Don't think that like also we're not ever in knowledge. Do you know times when I'm saying things and you feel it in your body? You're like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like I feel it. Like to truly know is to feel it embodied. So it's not like, we are ignorant because we're not enlightened, but we're also not 100% like constantly in ignorance. It's like a scale, right? We have things where we're like, oh, a remembering of like, I already know this. So when we come from a place of understanding, it's because our subconscious belief is rooted in faith. And when we are in an understanding of faith, we will feel like physically well-being. In my opinion, I call this being in flow. Because there's been times where it's just like, I know financially I'm good. I know spiritually I'm good. I know romantically I'm good. I'm not fucking cocky about it, but I know.
No.
And then it just keeps coming. It's like people are like, oh my God, I love your vibe. I want more of what you've got. Let me sign up. Like, blah, blah, blah. Take my money.
Yeah.
And when we're in well-being, then we'll express that. We won't hold it in. We won't try to be like, oh my God, I'm too happy. We'll be like, I'm fucking happy. You could be too.
Yeah.
So that expression is in happiness. And when we're happy, we're at ease. Right? It's rare that we're like in a great place and sick. At the same time, the body is at ease. And when it's at ease, then we're in creation. So this is like the overall thoughts. Now, the work here in this diagram is to come up with like, what are your core thoughts or beliefs about yourself? And there's about 3 of them. I did this in Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins, was like coming up with like, what are your 3 core thoughts or stories that are actually determining what you let in and what you reject without being consciously present to it. So what do you think your stories are based on us being raised?
I think probably one of the most powerful ones that I have is the same one as most of us have. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to deserve all the riches. I'm not good enough to deserve the love that I want. I'm not good enough to receive the things that I want. I'm not good enough.
Great. I love this. Now, where did it come from? What's the memory? So we could do a thing here that it looks like, okay, get into the feeling of I'm not enough. Feel that in your body.
I've been feeling that lately with this whole dating thing. So that's not hard
well,
to
then
get
let's
into.
do it. Specifically, right now, you're not feeling good enough for the love that you deserve. So I want you to close your eyes, roll your shoulders down your spine, and feel that, like get into it, let it in. You're not good enough for the kind of love that you want.
Oh, this is such a gross feeling.
Great.
It's so gross, so gross.
Where do you feel it in your body, physically?
I feel it all across my chest, my heart.
What does it feel like?
A little bit of my throat, but mostly here in my chest. It feels heavy. It feels sad. It feels slumped.
Okay.
Dark.
Okay. Great. So I
Icky.
want you to
Like
like amplify it, build it up, like make it more, like feel grosser, darker, heavier, more and more and more, like fuck all the people, not all of them, but the people that are coming in. What is it that you're feeling? Let it up. And then now I want you to tune in and tell me the earliest memory you have of feeling this in your body.
Oh, this is interesting because I don't remember. I want to say that when we have these conversations, I don't typically remember much before, say 5. And the one I just got, I want to say I was like, I want to say 3-ish. That's the number that's coming to my head. Somebody told me I was beautiful, and I feel like I started like a prancing, like, look at me, look at me. And mom was like, okay, enough, you're not that great. That kind of like backhanded comment that she would make that reminded me that I'm not allowed to like myself, that I'm not allowed to feel that way, that I'm not good enough to be spoken to that way. I feel like she turned and said something to someone. I don't know what the words were, but she turned and said something to someone about filling my ego up, making me conceited.
Hey, so the
Oh,
this
that's great. Thanks.
I think that was God. God was like, you got it, you nailed it. You're laughing because Merity's video just like had a bubble and a thumbs up right after she said
It's
that.
part of the new iPhone update, apparently, and it just gave us, a nice thumbs up.
So here's what I'm hearing. Not that I'm not good enough, because I do believe that's the core of all the thoughts, but there's specific stories. And this was, you're not that great.
Yeah.
You're not
Don't think
that
you're
great.
that great. And you know what, actually, that really that resonates hard with me, because every time I start to really like myself or start to believe, it's because every time I start to really like feel good about myself or feel like I'm doing the work, and like I like who I'm becoming, and I like the person that I am, and look at me go. It's like, well, who are you to like yourself that much? Who are you to like look at you go? You need to shush your face. And in so many ways, I feel like I also, like, as we're talking about this, I also feel like I encourage the universe to come in and bring people in who will tell me, who the fuck do you think you are? Who the fuck do you think you are?
So there's your first thought.
Yeah.
And that is pretty huge for like who you draw in. They're going to knock you down levels. So attraction wise, because this brings up like you've been dating.
Yep.
The experience
Yeah.
hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Can I interject that I'm like, Merity, you're attracted to fucking douchebags. All she does is send me a picture, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding? That's a douchebag. Like, that's a no. And I know that's very judgmental of me. I'm a yogi. I'm not supposed to have any judgment, but I fucking do. And
Because you're human.
You're attracted to douchebags. And so we
And
started diving
when I look
into
at it,
this.
yeah, and then I started to look at it, and I realized I kind of am. Like, if they look, and what's interesting about this is that, like, she's like, okay, so you're attracted to douchebags. I'm not gonna lie. There's like a piece as I'm looking at the guy, I'm like, you kind of look like a douchebag. Okay, maybe I'll give you a chance. Like, what the fuck? You know what that also piece is, and it doesn't surprise me as we started to dig into this, that piece is also like my savior piece. Look at what I do for a living. I help people change their lives with addictions. So I think maybe I can change you. And then we really dug into that piece of like, well, where was the douchebag? And really, my dad was a douchebag to women. I want to say, and when I say this, I want to say that he was a douchebag to women accept us. Now, am I wrong in saying that? Do you feel about that?
I think you're wrong, because I think like the joke telling us about the useless skin around the vagina being a woman, he had women daughters. Like, that's a douchebag thing to teach a woman.
I don't disagree. I don't remember him having that conversation with us.
He watched inappropriate shows in front of us.
Yep.
That's just showing us that sex is fucking nothing, and that you need to be a certain
He treated
way.
women like they were objects. He would have women pose with his cars even though he was married.
Even though he was
Things
married,
like that.
and put them in mom's lingerie. And then would be like, what the fuck is your problem? While she wasn't there, by the way. It's not like he was like, oh, listen, I want to do a photo shoot with this super hot chick. and have her wear your lingerie at our house. He was like, he would do that and then get busted because he had photos of it. That's douchebaggy.
Hugely douchebaggy. Like hugely douchebaggy.
Okay. There you go. So now the idea is like we do inner child work, because we're not just like bringing it up. Here's your story. Get over it. Fucking, because we can continue on or not. And that's totally fine. But like, so you're 3. So your paradigm around picking men is fucking 3 years old. You don't want a 3-year-old to pick out your partner for you, right? So the 3-year-old first has to be healed. Oh, babe, like, what did she need to hear? You aren't that great.
Well, that leads into where nothing I ever did was good enough as well. Like when I would put the effort into getting an A+, it still wasn't good enough. So why bother putting the effort in? So I just put in the basic effort, which would give me those 85 to 90% anyways.
So that's the second story then. Anything you do is not good enough.
Yeah. Interesting. And actually, go figure as you pull these stories,
Right?
how you'll also then find the stories that go along with those. Because I feel like that goes along with a lot of I mean, when I say a lot of the relationships, I've been in 3 long-term relationships in my entire life. But I'm definitely going to say no, in all 3 of them. In all 3 of them, there was a huge piece of nothing I do will ever be good enough. And I mean, as we say that, all 3 were douchebags. Now, I'm not cutting down everybody when I say this, because my ex-husband was a good man when he was a good man. Our relationship was good when it was good. My side of that, in looking at do I date douchebags, he was where I started my journey of, but I can change you. Because he was a douchebag. I don't know if you remember that. He was a player. He was a douchebag. In fact, in the beginning of our relationship, I think I found out that we weren't even really together, but then this girl shows up and wants to kick the shit out of me because he's been seeing her. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And so then I almost got my ass kicked for her or for
being a
him and his
girlfriend.
actions.
Because that's all
and
you
I had
knew.
no idea and I had no idea she even existed. So he was a total douchebag.
Let's also look at this, because I think nowadays they call them fuck boys.
Okay.
And in the 90s, like, our term is douchebag. So I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like almost fuckboy carries less of a like a meanness than douchebag, but like literally it's the same. It's a fuckboy,
Yeah.
a player.
Yeah.
So we don't hate the player, we hate the game. That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And so it's just really interesting because he was totally that player, but then I changed him, didn't I? Because I got him to marry me. We were together for 9.5 years and I was the one who ended it. And he still blames me for ending it and still has, he's still angry about that in some ways. So it's just interesting how that was my first one I was going to change. My second one was a fuck boy and a half. Oh, here goes my thing again. He was a fuck boy and a half. He was the player of all players. Like, without a question. He cheated on me many times and then would convince me to come back. And then my third one was the exact same. Like, holy shit, you guys. This is so funny because it was the exact same story. And let's get into the second one, because the second one decided to change as well. He proposed to me. He was proposing to me because he was going to change and come clean with me about cheating on me. Except I came to him with the girl instead and said, now you can't lie to me because she's sitting beside me. So what are you going to do? and then showed up and was like, I have this ring and I was going to propose and tell you the truth. Then we look at the one that I was just with. And as I ended it the very last time, there was that piece of, oh, well, I have a ring for you when you're ready for it. So the one thing that I chased from them, I want to say also was that ring because it was the one thing that they would never do. And that's also not what I want. I know that I am capable of being an amazing girlfriend and I am capable of so much love. And I would be super grateful to be able to be loved the way that I love someone. And that's what I'm looking for now.
I mean, if I can
Yeah.
be the devil's advocate. Giver is a Canadian word, everybody, for like go for it. Or going really fast. Is okay.
Also in these conversations, I just want to say when I'm saying these things about these people, I'm not saying them to just totally be an asshole. There was good pieces to these, otherwise I wouldn't have been with them for long periods of time.
Right.
So I'm not trying to say, we're looking at the negative side of this in this conversation and how these things have impacted me and are impacting me moving forward.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So
now
I just want to put that out there.
What I love is like, you're like, I want someone who loves me the way that I love them. And what you said that was consistent with each person was you wanted to change them.
Yes.
So your love was that they weren't actually good enough the way they were. They needed to be different.
Ooh, you guys hear that shit? And you know what's interesting is one of the conversations I've had with like a few of my clients recently is, and even with my daughter in her relationship was, can you be with this person just the way they are though? Because if not, and that's something I've been reminding myself of in this online dating thing, is if I'm already looking at them and wanting something to change, then I need to get away from this because this is clearly not what I want. So that hits really hard because that's interesting. I didn't see that.
I didn't until you said it. You just kept saying it, and I'm like, oh shit.
Well, and
you're
it's
like,
absolutely true.
Look at how I love. And I'm like, wait though, yeah.
I love you if only.
Therefore, I don't love you because I don't love myself. Because at the core of it is like
Who the fuck do
you're
you
actually
think you
not.
are?
Yeah, you're actually not that great, anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why you're attracted to douchebags.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can try and find a way to change them.
Yeah,
because I don't really like
imagine
me.
somebody came up and was just like, Meredith, you're fucking amazing. Are you gonna let that in?
I mean, when I hear that, I want to say that there's times that I do. Like it's very contradicting for me because there are times where like you say it and I will absolutely take it in if I'm feeling like I'm amazing. If I'm not feeling.
I also want to know, who are you taking it in from? Who is saying that to you? In general, like
you mean now? Like
yeah,
let's not as an adult?
like Lindsay. Let's just talk about like in general. If somebody says that to you right now, who is that?
Oh my God. You guys. Random strangers, which is exactly the same as when we were kids. Random people, not people with any meaning to me. Because it'll be, and not, I shouldn't say that because they do have meaning to me because they're my clients. So again, when we're saying these things, it's not, we're digging into the grossest side here, you guys.
Yeah.
But when I say that, like my clients will tell me, like, you're the most amazing human being, man. Like, you're a healer and your laser is really just your tool. And I am like, yes, 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 because I'm helping you change your life.
Yeah.
So even with Lindsay, when she says it, I can take it because I see the impact I've had on her life. So when I've had an impact on someone else's life, I can accept your feedback. When I've had a positive impact on someone else's life, I feel like I can take your feedback. Also, when strangers will tell me, because like you said, walking down the street, someone pulls me and says, wow, this whole thing works for me. You're glowing and vibrating just beauty. I can accept that. I feel like maybe there's a piece of it that's like, I can accept it from them because they're not going to hurt me.
I got another hit.
Right? At the same time. Okay, tell
Well,
me.
what you're saying is I can take it from people in whom I impact. If we change impact to change. So you take it from people who will change. And that could just be minor. Remember, these are very subtle, like energetic shifts. It's like if you
What could that mean?
you're only gonna take it from people that actually make the that do the change. Now, how many times does that work out in the beginning? But as you get closer, if they just go on about their day, that's great. And you're like, look at this is awesome. If they become your friend and then you stay as real as you fucking are right now, right then, when you said that and they're like, oh my God, you're amazing. Does it stay that way? Or did they start fucking calling you out like you're a bitch?
There's definitely a combination of both for sure. Yeah. Mm.
And then that doesn't work for you anymore. And then you're like, everything that they've ever said is actually nil and void because they're full of shit. So, I mean, the piece that comes back down is always the world is a mirror, and everything, personal responsibility wise, is like for you to look at. And the piece that's coming up is like, you yourself are lacking integrity because you don't love yourself. Like, I know you're doing the work, and I also know that the work takes a long time. Right. But at the heart of it, when we're talking about like, why are you in this situation? You've dated a few people. It hasn't turned out really great. I asked you today in our pre-catch up, like, how are you? How was your experience of dating? And you're like, not great. Right.
Uh-huh.
That's like the reflection is that, like, honestly, and I felt this when I got into my relationship with Rafa. I was like, fuck, man, I'm so sorry, because I thought I was ready, and then I'd spent all this time healing, and being in a relationship just brought up so much more shit and
Yes.
insecurity. I was like, fuck, I'm a mess.
Yes. I've spent 3 years working on myself.
Yeah. Shit.
Like working on myself and my business. And now
Yeah.
suddenly I'm having to look at myself in different ways.
Yeah. It's also the next
So this
part
is
that's
really interesting.
to be healed. Like, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going to attract in people. Like, you say, I want the love of my life. The universe is like, okay, here's why you don't have the love of your life. Number one, you fuck with douchebags. Number two, you don't love yourself. Number three, you try to change people. So you purposely pick not the right guy, because the right guy isn't someone that you change. The right guy shows up just as he is. And this isn't, I mean, like, I got the right guy. And it's not fucking rainbows and butterflies. I'm still like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I can't be like, you need to change this, this, and this. I mean, I do think that, like, I've been watching Temptation Island. I'm gonna tell you, this is the most brilliant show I've ever seen. You want to talk about like the psychology of people? This show is fucking brilliant. I've seen people go in and like be pulled out of manipulation. Like, I've seen people go in thinking they're so strong and then they just like break. Like, this has been such a great show. And it's like recognizing these like repeating patterns, and over again, people actually looking at themselves. And that's a huge piece, is like pulling in not the right person. And Mark Wahlberg, not like the Marky Mark, but like another TV host, he shit, I totally lost it. Fuck. He said, that's what he said. He said, when two people were talking about like loving each other, but things weren't like, she didn't like this and he didn't like that, he said, that's called incompatibility. And I was like, whoa. what hit me was they still love each other. Love does not equal compatibility. And then if we start to
Yes.
break down love, do they even love each other? But like, that was a huge piece for me of like, wait, like if this isn't working, it's not because I need to change my partner, it's because we're incompatible. And I'm not really willing to work this out. I'm just going to bitch at someone for the next 11 years about the same thing over and over again. And he's going to fucking hate me and not change it.
Yep.
Hello, unconscious relationship 101. Break the fuck up. You're incompatible. I mean, also, like, I'm not the poster child for happy marriage.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's interesting.
So back to like where we were is like the piece of you have to heal the 3-year-old. And then remember, it's not just like you were 3 and then you're all good. No, you made the story when you were 3, and now you've been accepting thoughts that have proven that core belief right up until now. So every year, every age, you let in the same stuff that literally was like, yeah, you're actually not that good. When it wasn't mom bringing you down to humbleness, I guess you could call it, it was other people. Remember the dude, I want to say names, but I'm not going to say names. Remember the dude you went out with in Nympho Lake?
Yes.
He was just
Yes.
like, yeah, you're hot, but I'm hotter. Like, who the fuck are you? And then he fucking cheats on you with one of our friends, like, right while you're there. Like, what the fuck, man? He just, yeah, you're not, yeah, but you're not that great. Who the fuck do you think you are? Let me show you. Because I'm better.
Yes.
Right? And then multiple cheat-ons, but like also like, what's your problem? It's just like, you know, messaging chicks dirty shit on Tinder is just like porn.
Yep.
And then you buy it? Like, oh yeah, you're right.
I didn't say, yeah, you're right.
Fair.
I said I was
Fair.
willing to work around it.
Fair. No, that's called incompatibility because I don't like my dude like having sexual conversations with other people.
No.
Yeah.
That to me was total cheating.
Fair.
And for me, it was my choice to continue in that relationship regardless of that.
Fair.
And I mean, there's lots of us who do that.
I also don't want him to hear this and be like, you motherfucking bitches. But like at the same time, it's the truth of what happened.
It is. Yep.
And that you let that in. That was, I think, I don't know, I think the love of your life.
So far, you mean how much I loved him more than I loved anyone else before. I don't know that I was capable of loving anyone the way that I was able to love him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so far he has been the one I love the most. Probably why I put up with that shit. Cause I mean, normally I'm not that person. If it happened with my ex-husband, I told him I would have left him immediately.
Your mom modeled it.
Yeah.
You know, this maybe allows you to look into a little bit of her fucking story too, right? Like she stayed with a man that constantly cheated on her and did shit like that and then gaslit her.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Like, what's your problem? Do you want to know what my problem is? But like, no, it's just like porn. You know, it's like so similar. She demonstrated how you put on your cheating pants. Right? He demonstrated.
I let them put their cheating pants on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa. So you have to heal the 3-year-old and then the 4-year-old and then the 5-year-old. That's why this work is like a fucking onion. But just remember, the core wound happened at 3. That's the deepest healing you can do. And that really looks like, do you want to do it right here now on the podcast?
I mean, we can see if we end up deleting it or allowing it to continue to play out. So
okay. All right. So
let's see where we go with this.
Come back to the original position of like sitting there and roll your shoulders down your spine and come back to the memory where you're a little kid. Someone just said something really nice to you and you felt like, yeah, you maybe strut it away and you're knocked off your fucking horse. You're not that great anyways. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'll show you. Probably from a place of like, whatever, it doesn't even matter. There you are, feel it in your body. Now I need to hear what that 3-year-old needs to hear from you.
I hear like a lot of like, it doesn't matter what you say now because you've already said what you said. If that hadn't been said, that little girl needed like, yeah, you are. Look how awesome you are, little girl.
What if the 3-year-old is bawling her fucking eyes out? She comes to you like total head down and says, I'm really not that good anyways. What would you say to her right now? Like, imagine her in front of you, 3 years old. It can be any 3-year-old you want, is like literally, fuck, dude, I'm a piece of shit.
It would be very, oh, honey, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. You are incredibly loved and you are amazing. You are beautiful.
Okay, close your fucking eyes because you're now going outside yourself instead of saying this to your 3-year-old. Now imagine your 3-year-old coming up to you and now say that to her.
Oh, honey, it's okay. You are beautiful. You are amazing. You are exceptional. You're a wonderful little human being and you're very loved.
I want to add like, Meredy, strut that shit for the rest of your life because you are beautiful and I think that you should own it.
Those words felt good for sure.
Now you have to imagine your little 3-year-old just like strutting it.
I feel like as soon as you said it, she was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I am.
Fuck yeah. Because isn't that like a 3-year-old too? Like, okay, you're right.
Really, that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
Like she was like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Watch me go. I'm gonna go back to strutting.
Great. So now, just to keep with it so that everybody can do this at home, is like the next piece is the next time that you're fucking dating, Meredy, and you either see a douchebag and you're like, oh, he's hot, or like be like, okay, how old am I right now? Because he's not hot. I'm attracted to that. There's a really good book called The Seed of the Soul. It is on Audible. Meredy and I share an Audible.
I have, yes, and I have read it. Actually, I've read 3/4 of it. I have not finished that book.
It talks about sexual attraction and sex being power over. And so we're attracted to people that we will have power over when we're unconscious. And so the idea is so that's it. Like, you're attracted to him because you want to change him, whoever him is. The last one, the one before, this one that you just were talking to, like, you're like, yeah, okay, I can fucking change you. You need me, right? Because that's what your 3-year-old wants, is to be needed. And so that's like, okay, wait, how old am I right now? Because I can clearly see this is douchebag. So this is pattern, right? And then reframing, because even in my life right now, what I recognize is like, I think things are boring. And so I create chaos because that's what I'm used to. And what I'm doing now is like, wait, I don't know healthy. I've never known healthy. I'm a crazy bitch too. Like, let's just throw that out there. I haven't been perfect in my relationships. I like fucked a lot of shit up and been a crazy bitch. And that's, it is what it is. And like labels and blah, blah, blah. But like, okay, what's happening right here is like, I don't know healthy. And I think I call it boring. So now I need to reframe boring into healthy. So now I have to be present because I can switch from this thinking, this is the negative ignorance of me not recognizing that I want to do just because he's hot and that is because he's a douchebag, to like, oh, knowing. Okay. And then that's listening to the body when you're talking to someone. And just like the last one, you're starting to get annoyed. It's like, okay, set up the boundaries, because they're not necessarily about the person. They're about boundaries. Like, thank you so much. I didn't actually ask for your opinion. If he gets really mad, that's a red flag. You have a conversation about it. He doesn't want to see it any other way. Do you need to fucking change him? No, you need to leave and not talk to him again. Bye. Because that's not the kind of dude you want to be with. And you're not going to make the kind of dude you want to be with. He's already in existence.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah, right in that moment.
Okay. I'm going to stop. I think that's it. Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. Two sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colin and Nerdy Locked Off, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.